The planet Zarnok was wet, hot, and full of strange buzzing sounds. Thick green fog floated above the ground. Trees looked like giant mushrooms, and vines hung down like ropes. The air smelled sweet and sour at the same time. 3 human explorers stepped off their ship. Their boots sank into the soft mud. "Keep your eyes open," said Mira, the team's science officer. She was short, smart, and always serious. "This planet has no map, and we already lost a full team here last month." Tom, the cheerful mechanic with messy hair, looked around with wide eyes. "It's not that bad," he said. "Smells like a swamp back on Earth." Leo, the strong and quiet soldier, checked his scanner. "No signs of danger yet, but there's movement all around." They moved slowly through the jungle. The trees buzzed with insect wings. Strange flying creatures passed above them. Some had wings like glass. Others had big eyes and legs like hooks. The team stopped near a large muddy hill. It wasn't just mud. It looked built like a hive. The walls were made of brown slime and glowing green moss. The structure pulsed gently, like it was alive. "This must be one of the fly hives," said Mira, frowning. "The locals warned us. There's a creature called the Fly Queen who lives in these." Tom walked closer, looking at the texture. "Smells weird," he said, "like old bananas and vinegar." "Don't touch anything," Mira warned, but Tom didn't listen. His foot slipped on a wet rock, and he fell face first into a soft, sticky pile. Splat. When he stood up, his suit was covered in brown goo. It clung to him and dripped from his arms and chest. The smell was strong, sharp, and sour. Leo held his nose. "Tom, what did you fall into?" Tom wiped his face. "Some kind of alien dung, maybe?" Mira looked angry. "That's not just dirt. That's waste from one of the royal bugs. You probably smell like their food now." "Great," Tom said, trying to shake the goo off. "Do I still get my lunch break?" Before anyone could answer, the sky above them darkened. A huge buzzing sound filled the air, louder than thunder. From the sky, a massive shadow dropped down. The Fly Queen had arrived. She was huge, taller than a truck, with shimmering wings and a long body. Her eyes were deep black, like polished stones. Her legs were thin but strong, and her wings buzzed with powerful beats. A golden crown of glowing shells rested on her head. The team froze. Mira's voice was a whisper. "No sudden moves." The queen landed gently on the ground, just a few feet from Tom. Her antennae moved slowly, tasting the air. Then she stopped. She turned toward Tom. She sniffed the air again. Then, to everyone's shock, she bent her long legs and lowered her head toward him. It looked like a bow. Tom blinked. Did I just get honored by a bug?" Mira's mouth dropped open. "She thinks you're something important. Maybe a gift or a snack." Tom didn't move. The queen stepped closer. Her guards, smaller but still big, surrounded him. In a wide circle. Mira whispered, "That dung you fell in? Maybe it smells like her favorite food." Leo stepped forward, but one of the guards raised a leg, blocking him. "She wants him to follow her," Mira said, shocked. The queen clicked her jaw, pointed one leg at Tom, then turned around. Her wings buzzed softly. "She's inviting you in," Leo said. Tom looked at his team. "What do I do?" Mira sighed. "You go, but stay calm. If she thinks you're scared or dangerous, things could go wrong fast." Tom nodded. He took a deep breath and walked forward. The guards closed in behind him, and the queen led him toward the hive. Back at the ship's camp, Mira paced in circles. "I told him not to touch anything," she said, angry but worried. "Now he's in the middle of a royal insect nest, smelling like dessert." Leo sat quietly, checking the scanner. "They didn't hurt him. Yet." We have to get him out, Mira said. That fly queen might treat him like a rare item for now. But who knows how long that will last? Inside the hive, Tom followed the queen down a tunnel of glowing moss. The walls pulsed with a heartbeat rhythm. Buzzing sounds echoed from every direction. The floor was soft, like walking on wet sponge. The queen led him into a huge chamber, filled with flying bugs, sticky honey balls, and floating orbs of light. A throne made of silk and bone sat in the center. She climbed onto the throne and looked at Tom. He stood still. She buzzed a soft tune and waved her antennae toward him. Then one of the worker insects placed a shiny flower in his hand. Tom blinked. Is this some kind of gift? The queen leaned forward and gently touched his head with her antenna. The chamber buzzed louder. All the other insects seemed to vibrate in harmony. Tom didn't understand what was happening, but he felt something strange, like he was being welcomed. Outside, Mira turned to Leo. We go in tomorrow. I don't care what the queen wants. We're getting him out. Leo nodded. We just need a plan. Mira stared at the hive. That dung might have saved him today, she said, but it could also make him her next meal. Tom stood inside the giant chamber, completely surrounded by strange flying creatures. The room smelled like sweet fruit mixed with wet mud. The walls glowed with green and orange lights. The buzzing in the air was almost like music. The Fly Queen sat on her throne made of bones, silk, and glowing shells. She looked down at Tom with wide black eyes. Her long antennae moved gently in the air, always pointing toward him. Tom stayed still. His suit was still covered in that sticky dung, and he had no idea what the queen wanted from him. But so far, she hadn't hurt him. In fact, she had given him a shiny flower and touched his forehead like he was someone special. Suddenly, 2 large bug guards came forward. They clicked their legs and pointed to a small platform in front of the queen's throne. They made a soft humming sound. Tom understood the message. Step forward. Slowly, carefully, he climbed onto the platform. The buzzing around the room grew louder. Dozens of bug workers began dropping sweet-smelling nectar into a bowl. One of them offered the bowl to Tom. He looked at the thick golden liquid. Thanks?" he said softly. Then he took a tiny sip. The nectar was warm and sweet, like honey mixed with cinnamon. It made his mouth tingle, and his stomach felt full after just one taste. The queen buzzed again, this time a softer tone, almost like a purr. Then she raised her front leg and gently placed a glowing shell necklace over Tom's head. Tom blinked. In surprise, "Am I being adopted?" he whispered to himself. Meanwhile, deep in the jungle, Mira and Leo hid behind a fallen tree near the hive entrance. They had waited all night, keeping an eye on the hive. Mira held a scanner in her hand, watching the movement patterns inside. "Look here," she whispered. "Tom is still alive. His signal is steady. He hasn't moved much, though." Leo looked at the hive. Maybe he's stuck. Or maybe they're treating him like royalty. Mira shook her head. "Either way, we're going in soon. I found a small tunnel under the hive wall. If we crawl in quietly, we can reach him without being seen. Let's move at sunrise," Leo said. "They sleep during the cooler hours." As the sun rose, the fog thinned. Mira and Leo crept toward the hive, staying low and quiet. The jungle bugs around them buzzed, but none sounded as loud or as organized as the hive. Back inside, Tom was watching the insects more closely now. He had started to notice something interesting. They didn't speak with words. They spoke with smells, movements, and sounds. When a guard was angry, it released a sharp pepper-like scent. When they were calm, the air smelled like fresh grass. The way they moved their antennae also told him how they felt. Some even danced in small circles to express greetings or orders. Tom smiled. "It's like bug sign language. Suddenly, the queen turned to him and buzzed in a long pattern. A group of worker bugs came forward, leading him through a tunnel. The walls were lined with glowing eggs and soft moss. Some eggs were shaking slightly. Tom tried not to step on anything. They reached another chamber, this one filled with waxy cocoons. Inside some of them, he saw something that made him freeze. Humans. 4 of them. They were the missing diplomatic crew. Each person was wrapped in soft wax, but they were breathing. Their eyes were closed and their skin looked pale. Tom stepped closer. "They're alive!" He tried to open one cocoon, but a guard blocked him with a sharp leg. It made a deep warning. Buzz. Tom stepped back. The queen arrived behind him and gently nudged him with her antennae. She didn't seem angry, more like curious. Tom pointed to the cocoons and made a motion like opening one. The queen tilted her head, then buzzed a reply. A worker stepped forward and rubbed a small blue jelly on one of the cocoons. The wax melted, slightly, revealing a man's face. It was Captain Rami, the leader of the missing crew. Tom leaned closer. "Captain, can you hear me?" The man stirred. His lips moved slowly. "You smell weird," he mumbled. Tom laughed. "Yeah, I get that a lot today." Back in the tunnel, Mira and Leo had made it inside. They crawled through the narrow space, careful not to make a sound. Mira's scanner buzzed once. Tom's signal was close. "We're almost there," she whispered. They reached a large crack in the wall and peeked inside. Mira gasped. "There he is." And, wait, he found the missing crew. Leo looked through the gap. "And that's the queen right beside him." Tom didn't know they were watching. He was too busy trying to figure out how to free the others. The queen rubbed her antennae together and made a soft clicking sound. A circle of bugs gathered around her and started humming in unison. Mira stared. "It's like a ceremony." "She's bonding with him," Leo said. "Like he's part of her group." Suddenly, a high-pitched buzz echoed through the hive. A new insect, smaller but darker, flew into the chamber. It had sharper wings, red eyes, and golden armor. Tom turned and saw it land with force. The guards stepped aside. The queen looked at the newcomer with surprise. Then the queen let out a deep, strong buzz, like a challenge. Tom stepped back. "What now?" he whispered. Mira tapped her scanner and read the signals. "That's the Fly Prince," she said. "He's angry. He doesn't like the queen giving attention to a human." Leo's eyes narrowed. "This just got more dangerous." The prince clicked his legs and stared at Tom. He made a sharp buzz and pointed toward him. Tom suddenly realized this bug wanted to fight. Mira gasped. Tom's in the middle of a royal power game, and he doesn't even know the rules. Tom stood frozen in the middle of the hive chamber. The fly queen on one side, the fly prince on the other. The prince's red eyes were locked on him. His wings buzzed louder than thunder. Even the guards backed away, unsure what was about to happen. Tom whispered, Can someone tell him I'm not interested in whatever this is?" The queen raised her long front legs and made a strong clicking sound. She looked angry but calm. She buzzed toward the prince, but he didn't listen. He pointed again at Tom and made a short, sharp, buzzing note. "He wants to challenge," Mira whispered, watching from the crack in the wall. Leo kept his eyes on the guards. "We need to act fast. If they turn against Tom, he won't last long." Inside the chamber, the queen waved her antennae and made a different signal. This time, worker bugs came forward carrying strange, glowing stones. They placed them on the ground in a circle. Tom looked around, confused. "What's going on now?" he asked. A drone buzzed in his ear and pushed him gently into the center of the glowing circle. Then he realized this was a challenge ground, a test, a competition. "Oh no," Tom whispered. "She accepted the prince's challenge. The queen floated backward and sat on her throne again. The buzzing in the room softened as everyone focused on Tom and the prince. Mira tapped her scanner. They're about to begin some kind of ritual contest. Leo frowned. Tom doesn't even know the rules, Mira whispered. We have to help him, somehow. Back inside, a group of bug workers handed Tom a sticky ball. It was soft and glowed blue. It pulsed in his hand like a fruit full of jelly. The prince across the circle held his own glowing ball. Suddenly, a loud buzzer echoed through the hive. The challenge had begun. The prince threw his glowing ball high in the air. His wings carried him up fast, and he caught it mid-flight, spinning like a dancer. The bugs watching clapped their legs and buzzed in excitement. Tom blinked. Okay, catch the ball, got it. He tossed his ball up, clumsily, and jumped to catch it. The jelly ball slipped through his hands and splashed on his chest. The watching bugs gasped. Tom wiped it off and laughed nervously. No big deal, just getting warmed up. The next round started. This time, the challenge was to guide a hoverbug across a glowing path. The prince jumped on his insect partner and zoomed ahead. He moved fast, turning corners like a racer. He reached the finish in seconds and lifted his arms in victory. Tom looked at the bug offered to him. It was large, with long wings and sleepy eyes. Hi there, Tom whispered. Let's not crash, okay? He climbed on awkwardly, grabbing the bug's antennae like reins. It buzzed and lifted slowly into the air. The crowd watched in silence. Tom flew forward, missed the first turn, and bumped into a wall. The bug made a confused noise but kept going. He waved and shouted, "Still alive!" The bugs laughed. Even the queen buzzed softly, amused. He reached the end, not fast but safe. He bowed as he landed, and the crowd buzzed in joy. He made them laugh, Mira said. That might be more powerful than winning, Leo nodded. He's winning them in a different way. The third challenge was strange. Both Tom and the prince were given small drums made of glowing shells. They had to beat them in a pattern shown by a queen's guard. The prince moved first. His rhythm was fast, strong, and clear. Tom held the drum and tried to copy the beat. He missed the first few taps, then found a slower rhythm of his own. He added claps, foot taps, and even did a small dance step. The bugs started buzzing along. Some even danced. The prince looked angry. Tom finished with a bow and a silly spin. The queen raised a leg and let out a long, soft note. The challenge was over. Now it was time for the queen to choose. The prince stood tall, proud, and serious. Tom stood covered in jelly and sweat, smiling like a fool. The queen looked at both. She moved slowly, thoughtfully, across the circle. She stopped in front of Tom. Mira held her breath. Then the queen reached forward and placed her golden crown shell on Tom's head, just for a moment. The crowd buzzed in loud approval. Tom had won. The prince hissed in anger and flew out of the chamber. Mira whispered, "He did it! He won the queen's favor!" Leo nodded. "He may have just saved his life." Tom was too stunned to speak. The queen placed another glowing necklace over his shoulders and motioned to the guards. They led him to a side chamber, this one quieter and warmer. Inside were the 4 human crew members in their cocoons. Tom rushed forward. "We're getting you out." He turned to the guards and pointed at the wax. "Let them go." The guards didn't move. They buzzed, confused. Tom remembered what happened earlier. He pointed to the blue jelly one worker had used before. He mimicked the rubbing motion. The guards hesitated, then one brought the jelly and spread it over the first cocoon. The wax melted. Captain Rami opened his eyes slowly. "You smell like bug juice," he whispered. Tom grinned. "That smell saved my life." Outside the chamber, Mira and Leo finally made their move. They crawled through the last tunnel and entered the main hive. They were careful not to alert the guards. Mira saw. Tom threw a small gap. "He's freeing the crew," she whispered. Time to help, Leo said. Tom gently helped Captain Rami sit up. The other 3 crew members were still trapped in their waxy cocoons, but their bodies moved slightly. They were alive. Tom looked around and pointed at the blue jelly. "We need more of this stuff," he whispered to the bug guard nearby. The bug tilted its head, then walked over to a mossy wall. It pressed its legs into the surface, and blue jelly oozed out. Carefully, it gathered the jelly in a leaf-like scoop and handed it to Tom. "Thanks," Tom said. He spread the jelly over the second cocoon. The wax melted slowly, and a woman's face appeared. Her eyes fluttered open. Where am I?" she whispered. "You're safe now," Tom said softly. "We'll get you out soon." Suddenly, Mira's voice came from behind. "Tom!" He turned quickly and saw Mira and Leo stepping out of the tunnel. Mira looked tired but full of relief. "We saw everything. You survived the challenge. That was amazing," Tom smiled. "I had no choice. They think I'm some kind of special guest." Leo stepped beside him. "And you're using that to free the crew. Smart move." Mira helped Tom with the last 2 cocoons. Together, they freed the full team. All 4 were weak, but breathing. "Let's move them slowly," Mira said. "We can carry them to the edge of the hive. Once we're out, I'll call the ship for pickup." Tom nodded, but something inside him felt strange. The Queen had treated him with kindness, like he was more than just a human, maybe because of the smell, or maybe something else. He wasn't sure anymore. Suddenly, a deep buzzing sound filled the hive. Tom froze. Mira looked up. "That's not a normal buzz. Something's wrong." From the main chamber, several guards flew in fast. Their wings beat with urgency. One of them chirped loudly at Tom and pointed toward the Queen's throne room. "She's calling me," Tom said. "Don't go," Mira warned. "We need to leave now." But Tom shook his head. "If I don't answer, she might think we betrayed her." He looked at Leo. "Help Mira carry the crew. I'll buy you time." Leo frowned. "You sure?" Tom nodded. "I'll be fine. Just don't leave without me." Tom followed the guards through the glowing tunnels back to the Queen. The hive was buzzing with energy. Hundreds of bugs were flying around. The Queen stood in the middle, her wings wide, her antennae moving fast. The Fly Prince had returned. But this time, he wasn't alone. A group of larger, darker insects, his loyal followers, stood behind him. They wore hard black armor and sharp stingers. The Queen buzzed loudly and pointed toward Tom as he entered. The prince hissed and stepped forward. He made a sharp buzzing sound and stomped the ground. The Queen answered with a deep hum. She pointed at Tom again. Tom didn't need a translator. He understood what was happening. The prince thought Tom was a threat. He believed Tom had stolen the Queen's attention. And now, he wanted to remove him. 2 guards pulled Tom forward gently. The Queen touched his forehead and made a slow, sad buzzing tone. Tom whispered, "She's telling me goodbye." Then, the Queen turned to her soldiers and gave a loud command. Suddenly, the Queen's guards flew at the prince's army. The chamber turned into a buzzing storm. Wings clashed, sharp legs hit armor, and blue flashes lit the air. Tom ran behind the Queen's throne and ducked down. He tapped his wrist communicator. "Mira, we've got a problem. There's a fight inside the hive," Mira answered quickly. "We're almost out. Are you safe?" "For now," Tom said. "But I can't leave the Queen like this." Back at the hive entrance, Mira and Leo carried the 4 crew members toward the jungle edge. They laid them down behind thick vines and looked back. "We can't leave Tom," Mira said. Leo checked his weapon. "Then let's go get him." Inside the hive, the Queen fought bravely, but the prince's soldiers were strong. One of them flew toward Tom. He grabbed a glowing stone and threw it. The bug dodged, but the flash distracted it just long enough for a Queen's guard to knock it down. Tom stood up and looked around. Then he saw it. Hanging on the wall was the same blue dung he had fallen into earlier. He smiled. Maybe it's time for one more stupid idea. He ran toward the wall and rubbed the dung all over his arms and chest again. The smell filled the room. The buzzing stopped for a second. Even the prince turned to look. Tom stepped into the center of the room and raised his arms. Buzz, Buzz, look at me. I'm the royal treat again. The bugs paused. Some of the princes, soldiers, tilted their heads. Tom slowly walked to the queen's side. She picked me. Not because I'm strong, but because I brought peace. You don't have to fight. The queen touched Tom's shoulder gently. Then she buzzed a soft melody. One by one, her guards stopped fighting. The prince buzzed in anger, but his soldiers began to step back. They were confused. Tom held out the flower the queen gave him on the first day. This is not a weapon. It's a gift. He placed it on the ground. The queen moved forward and stood beside it. The prince looked around. His army was no longer sure. They didn't want to fight a queen who protected her guest, even one that smelled strange. Slowly, the prince buzzed a single note, then flew away with his soldiers. Peace returned to the hive. Mira and Leo rushed in. Seconds later, Tom turned to them and smiled. Told you I'd be fine. Mira looked at his outfit. You smeared that stuff again? Tom nodded. It saved us. Twice. The queen stepped forward and handed him a crystal shell. It glowed with soft light. Mira smiled. A gift. Tom bowed deeply. Then they all walked out of the hive together. Tom held the glowing crystal shell in his hands as they walked out of the hive. Its soft light shone through the thick jungle fog. The other bugs in the hive buzzed quietly as he passed. None of them tried to stop him now. In fact, many gave him space and bowed their heads slightly. He had earned their respect. Mira looked at the crystal. It's beautiful. What do you think it means? Tom smiled. I think it means goodbye. And thank you. Behind them, the Fly Queen stood tall at the hive entrance. She didn't follow them, but she raised one leg in a slow wave. Her wings glowed faintly, and her antennae moved gently in the air. Tom stopped and looked back. I'll miss her, he said. Leo helped one of the rescued crew members walk. She probably saved you too, you know. If she hadn't cared for you, that prince would have destroyed everything. Tom nodded. We saved each other. The team walked carefully through the jungle, helping the 4 weak crew members. Birds flew overhead, and tiny flying lights floated near the trees. After an hour, they reached the clearing where their ship was hidden under a camouflage net. Mira tapped her wrist. Computer, open hatch. We're coming in. The ship's ramp lowered with a soft hiss. The crew helped the rescued team climb aboard. Inside, they were given water, food, and rest. Mira turned to Tom. Now, can we please clean you up? You still smell like dung? Tom laughed. Maybe I'll keep it as a souvenir. Mira shook her head. Absolutely not. In the ship's wash chamber. Tom finally removed his sticky suit. Warm water sprayed over him, and layers of blue-brown goo washed away. He looked at his reflection in the mirror. His face was tired but peaceful. He had never planned to be a hero. He was just a mechanic who slipped and fell into something strange. Yet somehow, that fall had changed everything. Later that day, the ship flew up through the clouds of Zarnok. The jungle disappeared below them, and the stars filled the sky. Tom stood near the window holding the glowing crystal shell. Mira walked over. We've sent the full report to Earth, she said. They'll be sending a diplomatic team back soon. This time, with gifts. Tom nodded. Good. The bugs weren't bad. They were just misunderstood. The Queen really liked you, Mira said. I think it was the smell, Tom said. With a smile. They both laughed. Leo walked in. By the way, The Queen left one more gift. We found it stored near the ship before we launched. He handed Tom a sealed container. Inside was a ball of blue jelly and a folded leaf with strange patterns. Mira scanned it. It's a message. It says, "You are always welcome. May your scent guide the stars." Tom chuckled. I guess that's the best compliment I've ever received. 2 weeks later, back at the human exploration base on Mars, Tom was invited to speak in front of a large crowd of scientists and officers. Everyone had heard the strange story of the dung hero, as they called him. He stood on stage, wearing a clean uniform this time. He looked out at the curious faces. "I didn't plan to be part of history," Tom said. "I didn't go looking for danger or fame. I just slipped and fell into something awful." The crowd laughed, but instead of panic, I stayed calm. I didn't attack. I didn't run. I listened. I watched. And most importantly, I learned. He held up the crystal shell. "This is not a trophy. It's a reminder that peace can come from the most unexpected places, even from a pile of alien dung." More laughter and applause followed. Mira stood at the side of the stage, smiling proudly. Tom continued, "The Fly Queen wasn't our enemy. She was a leader, a protector, and in her own way, a friend." He ended his speech with a bow. After the event, many people came to shake his hand. Some asked for stories. Others just wanted a photo with the man who made peace with bugs. That night, Tom sat alone on a bench outside the base. The stars above Mars twinkled gently. He held the crystal shell in his lap. Mira walked over and sat beside him. "You know," she said, "not many people could have done what you did." Tom shrugged. "I just followed my nose." She laughed softly. Then she said, "They're naming that area of Zarnok after you." Tom raised an eyebrow. "What? Like a statue?" "No," Mira said, smiling. "A field, the Queen's Field, with a small sign that says, 'Peace was found here, thanks to a very sticky human.'" Tom grinned. "I'll take it." They sat in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Tom looked at Mira and said, "Would you go back there? One day?" She thought for a moment. "If I did, I'd wear boots with better grip." They both laughed again. Tom leaned back and whispered, "I never thought falling into dung would help save lives." Mira nodded. "Life is strange, but sometimes even the worst accidents can lead to the best stories." Tom looked up at the stars, still holding the Queen's glowing gift, and somewhere, deep in the jungle of Zarnok, the Fly Queen sat on her throne, holding a small human-made button that Tom had dropped before leaving. She buzzed softly and smiled, at least in her own bug-like way. 2 months had passed since the strange adventure on planet Zarnok. Tom was back at the human exploration base on Mars. He had become a bit of a celebrity, though he didn't really like the attention. People kept calling him the Bug Whisperer, the Dung Hero, and even Queen's favorite. Every time he walked through the hallway, someone would wave or smile or tell the story again. Tom just wanted to go back to fixing engines and enjoying quiet tea breaks. But life had changed. Mira walked into the ship bay one morning with a folder in her hand. "Tom, you've got a new mission. You're being requested." Tom looked up from his toolkit. "Let me guess. They want me to meet another insect queen?" Mira smiled. "No. This time it's a visit. The Fly Queen herself has sent an official message. She wants to host a human party at her hive." Tom blinked. "Wait. She invited us?" Mira nodded. "Yes. She said your scent was a sign of harmony. She wants more humans to come, peacefully." Tom scratched his head. "Are they expecting us to roll in dung first?" Mira laughed. "I hope not." Leo walked in from the hallway, holding a backpack. "I'm coming too. Can't let you two have all the fun again." Tom smiled. "All right. Let's go meet my big insect friend again." The small ship flew smoothly through space and landed near the same jungle clearing on Zarnok. This time, the team was bigger, 10 people, including scientists, doctors, and translators. Tom stepped out first, holding the glowing crystal shell. The jungle smelled the same, sweet, earthy, and alive. As they approached the hive, buzzing filled the air. But it wasn't angry. It was musical. Hundreds of insects flew in circles above them, creating a low, peaceful hum. The hive had grown bigger, with new towers of wax and moss rising into the sky. Then the queen appeared. She flew down gently and landed in front of Tom. Her eyes looked the same, dark, calm, and wise. Her wings glowed softly, and she touched Tom's forehead with her antennae. Tom bowed. "It's good to see you again." The queen buzzed slowly and waved her leg toward the hive. She welcomed the team inside. The other humans followed, a bit nervous but curious. Inside, the hive had changed. Bright colors painted the walls and soft lights floated in the air. Bug workers buzzed peacefully, bringing trays of nectar and fruit-like plants. Mira whispered, "It's beautiful, like a royal palace." The queen led them to the same chamber where Tom had once stood alone in front of her throne. Now it had seats made of soft moss for human guests. Everyone sat down, and the queen began to hum a gentle rhythm. Tom leaned toward Mira. "I think this is a welcome song." Then, something surprising happened. A group of young bugs entered the room, small, with clear wings and playful energy. Each one held a small object wrapped in leaves. They walked toward the humans and gently placed the leaf-wrapped items in their hands. Tom opened his and found a small carved statue. It looked like a tiny version of himself with a flower in one hand and a glowing necklace on its chest. Mira gasped. "They made statues of you?" Tom looked around. All the other humans had different gifts, each one showing respect and friendship. "This is more than a visit," Mira said. "This is the start of real peace." After the ceremony, Tom walked alone through one of the hive tunnels. The walls still pulsed with soft light, and he felt a strange warmth in his heart. Suddenly, he heard fast buzzing. He turned and saw a small bug rushing toward him, waving its legs excitedly. It made sharp sounds and pointed to a side tunnel. Tom followed. Inside, he saw something he didn't expect. A sick young insect lay on a bed of moss. Its wings were damaged, and its glow was dim. Other bugs stood nearby, buzzing softly in worry. Tom looked at the small creature and then back at the bug who brought him. He understood. They wanted help. Tom knelt beside the young insect. He scanned its body with his wrist device. "Its wing is broken, maybe infected," he said. He tapped his communicator. "Mira, I need the medic here now." Minutes later, Mira and a doctor arrived. They looked at the young bug and opened their medical kits. Carefully, they cleaned the wound and applied a cooling gel. The insect gave a small chirp of relief. The queen entered just then. She saw what Tom and the team were doing. She buzzed a slow, grateful song and touched her head to Tom's. It was her way of saying thank you. That night, the humans were invited to stay in the hive. They were given soft sleeping pods made of silk and leaves. The air was filled with calm music, played by bug wings. Tom lay in his pod, thinking. He had come here once by accident, covered in dung. Now he was an honored guest, helping build a bridge between two species. He smiled to himself. "Life is strange," he whispered. The next morning, before leaving, the queen gave one final gift, a scroll written in glowing ink. Mira translated it as they flew back to the ship. It read, "To the humans, may your scent of kindness stay in our memory. Let our wings carry peace between our skies." Everyone was silent for a moment. Then Tom chuckled. "I guess I'll always be remembered by my smell." The team laughed. As their ship rose above Zarnok's jungle, Tom looked out the window one last time. The hive grew smaller behind him, but the connection between their worlds had only grown stronger. And somewhere inside the hive, the Fly Queen watched the ship disappear into the clouds, holding the same tiny button Tom had once dropped. She buzzed softly, full of peace. 3 months later, Tom was back on Earth, sitting in a quiet garden at the Global Space Council headquarters. Flowers swayed in the breeze, and small birds chirped in the trees. He wore a clean uniform now, with a silver badge on his chest. Ambassador. To Zarnok. Tom smiled as he looked up at the sky. He never thought he'd become a hero just by falling into dung. But sometimes, strange beginnings lead to beautiful endings. Mira walked over holding 2 cups of tea. Still thinking about the bugs? Tom took a cup and nodded. Every day. They're not just bugs anymore. They're people. With homes, feelings, music, even art. She sat beside him. Do you miss the Queen? He smiled. A little? She's not easy to forget. Mira opened a folder. Well, get ready. The Council has approved the new program. It's called Project Glow. Tom raised an eyebrow. What's that? A peaceful exchange, Mira said. 1 insect visitor from Zarnok will live here with us. And in return, 1 human will live inside the hive. Tom paused. Wait, you mean someone will actually live in the hive? Mira grinned. Guess who the Queen requested by name? Tom laughed. Let me guess, she wants the guy with the special smell? Mira nodded. Exactly. A few weeks later, Tom was back in space. This time, the journey to Zarnok felt different. There was no fear, no mystery, just purpose. When the ship landed, the Fly Queen was waiting. This time, she brought with her a small group of guards and a special guest, a young insect named Zilu. He had silver wings, bright, curious eyes, and a necklace that looked like Tom's glowing shell. Zilu stepped forward and gently bowed. Tom smiled and bowed back. Welcome to our side of the stars. Mira helped Zilu into the ship where special rooms had been built for him, warm, quiet, and safe. He chirped softly and buzzed in a gentle tune. It's a thank you song, Mira whispered. Tom turned to the Queen. She stepped forward and touched her antenna gently to Tom's forehead. Then she handed him a scroll made of soft leaf and glowing dust. Mira read it out loud. Let the one who first brought peace carry our light into his home. Tom looked around the hive one last time. He remembered how it all started, slipping, falling, and getting covered in a smell no one wanted. But instead of being laughed at or harmed, he had found a path no one expected. Now he was more than a mechanic. He was a bridge. Back on Earth, Zilu became a guest of honor. Scientists, teachers, and children came to visit him. He learned to write, basic Earth letters, speak soft words, and even eat fruit smoothies. He liked mango the most. He stayed in a green dome built just for him. Birds visited the dome often, and Zilu would hum gently to them. Slowly, he became part of Earth's daily life. Tom stayed close to him, like a friend or older brother. One day, Zilu made a soft painting using glowing pollen and earth flowers. He gave it to Tom. Tom asked, "What does it mean?" Zilu buzzed, and tapped the page gently. Mira translated, "It means, your smell still lives in my heart." Tom laughed. I guess I'll never escape that title. Back on Zarnok, the Queen kept a quiet chamber filled with gifts from the humans, photos, paper, a toy spaceship, and the tiny button Tom had once dropped. It was now framed in a circle of glowing stones. The bugs had built a small learning center shaped like a human foot in honor of Tom's first fall into the sacred dung. They called it the Foot of Peace. Inside the chamber, young bugs were taught about human kindness, funny smells, and how sometimes accidents can become great beginnings. The queen often sat at the entrance, watching them learn. Years passed. Project Glow became a global success. More humans visited the hive and more insects came to Earth. Together they built gardens, studied stars, and even created music using bug wings and human instruments. Tom grew older, but he stayed involved. He taught new explorers, shared stories, and reminded everyone that peace sometimes comes from strange places. At one event, a young girl raised her hand and asked him, "Is it true you became friends with the queen because of poop?" The crowd laughed. Tom smiled warmly and said, "Yes, it's true, but not because of the smell. It was because I didn't run away. I didn't fight. I listened. I stayed." He paused and added, "And sometimes, just staying is enough to change the world." One night, under a quiet sky filled with stars, Tom sat alone in a garden. He held the old, glowing shell, now dim but still warm. A soft, buzzing sound filled the air. It was Zilu, now taller, stronger, and fully part of Earth. He sat beside Tom and gently touched the shell. Then, using simple Earth words, Zilu said, "Thank you, Tom." Tom smiled. "Thank you too, my little brother." They sat there quietly, listening to the night sounds. And far away, deep in the jungle of Zarnok, the Fly Queen looked up at the stars. She buzzed a song known to her people as the First Peace Tune, a song about a strange, smelly visitor who brought light to their hive, and somewhere in the wind, even the trees seemed to hum along.